Shubor nakaslem jong nongsan Hima.
Kaying dorbar tauan mentakasngi kabadai kasngi balai jong ka dorbar senrai kalasakhi ka jingatai halor ka jinglong jingman jong ka puli puthi. Yakane kamat yatai lawan radu MLA ka umroi uba George Bilengdo bat kiladan ru sakiwei pat ki MLA ki balai shimbentalang. Habawan ra yakane kamat uba George ulapen pau ya ka jing ngau duka halor ka jinglong jingman ka puli puthi ya ka jella ha ka bala sakhi ya ka jinghiar ha ki babun kiliang. Ula kadauru baka jella bon ba ki Khynnah ki bapep no ban let school lucky day hagi class primary ne secondary. Uba George ulapen pauru halor ka jingbon ki Khynnah ki baklem la ban pendem ya ka matrik ni SSLC mentausnem. Ula ong bakidon komba arpeu saw hajan ngut AA ki Khynnah ki baklem la ban pas ya kane ke examen. Ula bo jengkeliru ki ai ki lat ki badan ban jaram ya ki bakum kini ki Khynnah. Uni MLA ulawan ra ru yakamat kabayadai bat ka skul pain maun haselong. Ula ong bahagi ni ki khendas ngi balalen layo iya ki Khynnah puli ka skul pain maun ki balami syakmat ban pen pau yala ki jing shem jing e ha ka skul bagi puli. Namar ka jing bom biang ki jing don kam ha skul nadu ka jing jaklia bat ka jing bom biang ki jakale chabar. Ki jaka yale kai bat ki wei. Nalor kata lami ru ki Nonghikai bat ki kimikik pa jong ka nek skul ban pen pau ya ki jing e. Shosho uba George ula ong ki Nonghikai jong ki wei pat ki skul ki lami syakmat ban dawa ya la ka hong. Namar ka jing bom yo ya ka tulom ka batik na bat ka jing penduk kam ya ki wei pat ki Nonghikai. Shosho ula keren ru halor ka jing Duna Nonghikai haki katu ka nek skul namar ka jing penslem ya ka jing thep kam. Ha ka ba ki Nonghikai ki badan hapo skul ki ha ban shem hadu saw ne santali ki class nadu ki Khynnah nursery hadu class 5 kabalawan ra jing e yaki.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, sir, for this opportunity to raise this very important short duration discussion pertaining to the plight of the education sector in the state, sir. Sir, the education sector being one of the primary sectors, it requires a lot of attention with a vision to improve our human development indices and to ensure that a strong foundation is laid for our state and especially for our youth, sir. Sir, education is also one of the important criteria for assessing the development of our state. The quality of our education has been ranked the lowest in the past few months by several agencies that are monitoring the progress of education sector across the country. Therefore, sir, we need this discussion to understand as to what plagues our education system. Questions arise in the minds of our parents, our teachers, our students, as to whether we are having a correct approach towards our education sectors. So, as we stand here today to discuss on this very important issue, there are schools, government schools that do not have teachers, as the recruitment is still under process. There are teachers who have to attend to 4 or 5 classes as their own fellow teachers have not been appointed, or some of the ones who should be there in school have been sent for several other duties. Sir, we have witnessed how teachers have come to the streets to demand for their salaries. It is demeaning, sir, not for them, but for us. For this August House, the teachers have to come to the streets to demand for the salaries. Just a few days back, a new law has been achieved. The students of a premier institution, they are coming out to demand for cleaner toilets and better administration of their school. Why are the days becoming bleaker and bleaker, sir, for our education sector? What is the problem? Sir, just recently we have seen how SSA teachers had to come and stay overnight for days to demand for the salaries. On one hand, our Honorable Education Minister had to threaten the teachers to go back to their schools. Just immediately a day after, salaries are being released from whatever amount is there, or funds are there with the government. There seems to be no planned approach to this. If funds were already there with the government, with whatever amount possible, why was the delay? Who was withholding these funds? Why do we have to make teachers sleep overnight? Even pregnant teachers had to come and stay overnight to demand for their salaries, leaving the children. Some of them even brought the children along. They are burdened with debt. They couldn't pay for their daily needs. Even going to their schools also, they had to borrow from the neighbors and family. So, even though the department has tried to redress this issue, but then this continuous occurrence of teachers having to come to the streets and coming out in media to demand for their rights has become an eyesore, sir, for each and every one of us, even for the one in government, in opposition, for the citizens of the state and the country. And several other problems are we seeing in the SSA implementation, where even the non-teaching staff of the SSA, they have to fight for their own benefits. Not only their salaries are also being delayed as that of the teachers, but the other benefits that have to be given in terms of health benefits, in terms of travel allowances, in terms of maternity benefits. Why do we have to demand? And by law, it is implied that these facilities should be provided under various sections of law. Sir, the non-filling up of posts for nearly 2 years now, we are waiting for the MTET results. We understand that the recent intervention of the Honorable High Court has brought further complications to the recruitment process, where now we have to go by the roster. And as we speak, and I had said earlier, there are schools that there are no teachers. And if the recruitment process has become a hurdle for students to achieve education, and even that recruitment process is now a hurdle for even teachers to even attend schools, the system is being questioned. Repeatedly on the floor of this August House, several members have requested the government that interim arrangements be made to ensure that at least the students, they don't suffer. They are catered and attended to. Single teacher schools, where in the absence of the particular teacher that has to be appointed, the students are now astray. So, we are also seeing schools, because of the delay in appointment, there are schools where one teacher has to teach 4-5 classes, right from the pre-nursery to class 5. One teacher. And if there's an additional teacher also there in the school, that other teacher has been sent for election purposes. So, our students have already lost 2 years of precious schooling days. Now, if at this juncture, we are still yet to understand the implication of the lockdown on learning, on schooling, and still sending our teachers for election purposes? Won't they suffer for another year, sir? Sir, teachers that have been burdened with election duty, this decision of the government, sir, needs to be redressed, because we cannot afford now to bring teachers out of the schools, because in spite of that we have lost 2 years. Now we still don't have teachers appointed, and the ones appointed are out of school because of other duties. This cannot be accepted, sir. So we request the government that this needs to be reviewed. Until and unless such attention is given to the teachers and to the schools, we will still be having problems like this, where the teachers not appointed and teachers that are there also are being sent for other duties. So till yesterday, the contractual teachers are still out in the streets. We had met a couple of them, and what could be understood from the teachers is that, sir, that the abrupt discontinuation of the employment or the contractual employment that the government had given now in fact has turned into a human rights issue. Many teachers cannot afford to support their households anymore because they were overaged, they had served more than 10 years in those schools, and now they are unemployed. Some of them have died. Some of them were handicapped. But the blanket discontinuation of the services of the teachers has rendered many unemployed, at the same time in debt, and now they are out in the streets. What really breaks my heart, sir, yesterday when I spoke to one of the teachers, he said that in the school that he had come from, it lies in the border of East Garo Hills and West Khasi Hills. And in that particular school, one teacher retired, one serving one is old, and he's the only one there. And he, in spite of being discontinued from service, he still goes and teaches in that particular school because he cannot see that the students are left unattended. He says that there's no one even to teach Khasi to those students there, because he is the only Khasi teacher in that particular area. In spite of being discontinued from service, this gentleman goes and he continues to teach the students whom the government had said that he cannot continue anymore to teach. So, dropouts. This year, in the SSLC results, is also one other issue. When we talk about dropout, we are the first in upper primary dropout rate, third in secondary dropout rate, fourth in primary dropout rate. When we talk about infrastructure, 22.9% of our schools only have functional electricity connections. 39.22% have functional drinking water facilities. These are the conditions of our schools. So, therefore, the high dropout rate is an outcome of all these problems. Teachers not being there, the physical infrastructure not being upgraded, not being attended to. At the same time, when we see the results, the SSLC results appeared, number of students 57,371. The ones who passed, 32,698 this year. And the ones who failed, an alarming number, sir, 24,693. What are the reasons for such a high number of students failing their SSLC exams? What do we do to help these students who could not make through? Is there any particular system that we would like to debate on, discuss, to ensure that we give the best to at least the ones who have not been able to pass the SSLC results? Sir, a premier institution like Pine Mount, last week when teachers and students have to come out and shout for the anomalies that are present there in the school, isn't it a shame, sir? A premier institute of the state where the alumni of such an institution not only serve across the country, but they serve across the world. This institution has bred many bright students, many leaders, many people who have served the country and the world. Here we have a situation where it seems nobody cares. Toilets for our girl students not being attended to, not being cleaned up. Do we accept, sir? Who will take the responsibility, sir, for this? Will the ones responsible be bold enough to stand up and say that it is I who has to take the responsibility? Or whether they'll go and hide under the curtain of some kind of order or some kind of rule? Sir, the plight of such a premier institution.
Honourable member, please try to wind up.
Sir, the plight of such an institution, sir, cannot be accepted. The anomalies that are there across the education sector, sir, I think can be drawn in this statement that has been made by our Honourable Chief Minister, that education is a challenging sector. This very statement of the Honourable CM, sir, that is all across, perhaps is being viewed that the state government has surrendered itself and given up on the problems that plague the education sectors. No matter how many times we have raised this issue and brought to the notice of the government on the problems, perhaps we need to ensure that the stakeholders are brought on board. When the Honourable Minister of Education had asked me once as to what will help to improve the education sector, I had requested only one thing, that at least the district level committees and monitoring committees be set up. These committees were notified. I thank the Honourable Minister, but then none of them were called for meetings. There is no follow-up from the department. The deputy commissioners are not in the know, they are not being brought on board. So the notification of such committees have become defunct because they have become slave of the system where this notification must have lied somewhere in some file and nobody cares about it.
So,
we would have taken the burden, sir, as legislators from various districts to at least highlight things and try to filter out the problems that will be taken up at the state level and also that can be handled at the district level. So these suggestions need to be initiated in the sense that solutions are also seen. Yes, sir, you had given me 15 minutes, so 10 seconds.
Yes, it is already
so,
15 minutes.
So, sir, with these submissions, sir, I feel that I have drawn enough attention to the government and hope that some attention be given, sir, to the points raised and to the solutions that are required for the people, sir. With these few submissions, sir, I resume my seat, sir.
Since 2014, our country has been plagued by divisive forces. TMC is in Meghalaya with the mission to empower the people, uphold the ethnic cultures and traditions, celebrate the sacred land. To oust the proxy BJP government from Meghalaya, be the change, support TMC by calling on 96877 96877.